box over there. Have you seen a box of Yogi tea?
Yeah, I see a couple of boxes of Yogi tea stuff.
All right, good. I had them send over a sample pack for the team.
Oh, awesome. Fantastic. It's good tea. We've used it at home before.
All right, good.
Yeah, I love Yogi tea. That's really cool of them to send that over.
Mm-hmm. They're a future client once we get a couple of things in order.
Awesome. That's really good. Okay. Well, why don't we get this show on the road? I have a lot of things to talk about. As usual, I really want to get a technical update first. So, Meta, are you ready?
I am.
Awesome.
All right. So good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I am here to give the tech update. So the things that I'm working on right now is I'm really focused on getting detailed release plans done for nodes 7, 8, 9, and making sure that I've got everything specified completely and estimated and achievable. So I've been working with the development team, Kyle, Michael Birch, in detail to make sure we've got that all lined up. One of the things I'm focusing on is really our sharding solution. I want to make sure that I have all of the implementation details really documented well. There's a document called Shards and RChain that Mike Stay and I collaborated on. And so folks are welcome to go review that. It's on the wiki. I've also put it out for review with Kyle and Michael Birch. We're very concerned about scope creep. So we're concerned about locking down what we will deliver for Mercury. So to that end, I've also written I've started writing a release plan for Mercury that will outline all the high-level features in as much detail as possible in terms of what will be possible once Mercury ships. And this is coming at the behest of the development team. And I think it's a good thing for us as well to help support client-facing documentation and DApp developer documentation too, to have a detailed specification of what the Mercury release will look like. The rolling team. So the team is looking at reassessing the block storage architecture. As those of you that have worked with the node are well aware, we have an issue with block storage and performing the show blocks command. We expect that this re-architecture will address that, as well as make the node more performant and more efficient in terms of how it uses resources. We merged the name registry. Now we are working on removing the ability to send or listen on forgeable names. So that's a big thing, having that registry in there. Great work, Kyle. We're also making good progress in making the interpreter stack secure. So we've noticed that the interpreter is throwing Stack Overflow errors. So we're really locking that down and making sure that it's stable and robust. We've also enhanced the algorithm to find the most common ancestors in the DAG. Look for a PR in GitHub from Mike Birch. And this addresses the errors that we've seen in the testnet, which is the invalid bonds cache error. We saw that crop up again when we did node testing. I initially reported that bug while I was at RCon 3, actually, and wasn't able to reproduce it locally, but then was able to reproduce it with node testing on Tuesdays. So Mike Birch has ferreted out a solution, and that is currently in review. Should be merged this week. We will be updating the Clique Safety Oracle to use this in-memory representation of the DAG. So the Clique Safety Oracle is going to be updated to use the fix for the common ancestor. And this should actually speed up, it might speed up show blocks and also speed up other portions of the system. Validator bonding is on track to finish by the end of this sprint. And we've got some churn and cost accounting. Greg is aware of this. We discovered an issue while implementing matching for the tuple space, and the team is discussing this. There's a meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning to discuss the implementation, and our goal with an eye towards getting the cleanest, not letting perfect be the enemy of good, and also make sure we get everything implemented in time for Mercury. The storage and node team, we are working on fine-grained locking. The specific use case for fine-grained locking is disjoint channels. There are other areas of where fine-grained locking will need to be implemented, but this is where we are starting. Work is progressing. We expect that the PR will be merged today. We now need to go into some testing and to see what kind of performance gains we get from this work. And hopefully we will know by the end of the week if there's a payoff. The node shutdown issue was fixed. This was an old issue where the node crashes or hangs on Control-C. It doesn't happen all the time, but some folks do experience this. So we found the issue and fixed it in RSpace. We're continuing working on separating Kademlia from the RChain protocol. And we're also working on message queuing, which is the chunking and unlimited block size. We're seeing a bug around messages being received. So we hope to have both of those issues fixed, and the PRs coming in this week. We continue working on threading improvements. I expect to have something by early next week, but I don't have a clear status yet. As far as I know, Alex is still researching and doing some local testing on the threading model. And SRE is moving our CI solution to a self-hosted drone solution. They put forth a proposal that was accepted by the development team, so they're on track to complete on schedule. I will open it up for questions. I see some things in the chat. Kelly has shared some wiki pages, so you can go ahead and take a look at those. Any questions? Going once, going twice. All right, you can always DM me if you need to. Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you, Meta. I really appreciate it. You got a lot in a very short period of time.
Hey, sorry, I just wanted to ask, and then we can take it offline if it's not. You had asked about testing. Are you getting the testers you need from the community, performance, et cetera, and test cases?
I believe that the engagement for node testing is good. I would like to see a lot more Roland contracts. That would be really fantastic. We did have one community member, Christian, join up, and he is going to start engaging with the Roland team. He is quite proficient at Roland, so he did pop his head up. I met him at RCon 3, and he's been joining our stand-ups since then. But more engagement would be better, to answer your question, Lawrence. I can't hear anyone speak. I think, Greg, are you trying to talk? Because you're not coming through.
Started the car.
Yeah, Greg. I think
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you. I think your Bluetooth is acting up. Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Actually, it was old-fashioned headphones, but they weren't plugged all the way in. Yeah. Sorry, I have to drive over to a meeting and over in Lake Washington, so I have to take this call on the road. So what I was trying to say was that the best testing is for our portfolio companies to be writing their applications against the platform now. This would be the time for that to be happening. And now, I don't know if people saw, but we've open sourced the code for the node that the RSong node demo, and we have a nice harness for people to play with that. They can make copies of this and start playing around with what this looks like as an application.
Greg, you're breaking up.
Can't hear you.
How about now? Can people hear me now?
A little bit better. Yep.
Okay, cool. I think there was a Wi-Fi to cell network handoff hiccup. Okay, so what I was saying was that the RSong application represents also a template for others to build their applications on. So most applications are going to deal with not just stuff on the blockchain, but also integrating that with other systems from the outside world, as is happening here with the RSong demo. And so this pretty much represents a template for a wide variety of applications. But we would encourage our portfolio companies to grab this and copy it and tweak it to suit their application needs as well. I think that should line up with a big chunk of the existing portfolio companies. And that would already, the RSong framework has discovered a lot of issues in the node, and the node team, especially Kent, has been very, very responsive in shaking those out. I'm extremely happy with how things are moving along in that regard. So if people would provide us with similar kind of application frameworks, that will be some of the best test harnesses that we could have for the nodes. I just want to make sure that people understand what I'm saying here. Meta, does that make sense to you?
It does, yes. I've shared the GitHub repository locations for the proxy and the song acquisition for RSong. Yeah,
and we'll make some instances available either on the Google Cloud or Amazon for people to just fire them up and do them directly. One of the most things is this idea of a specialized shard. Here, this shard is separate from testnet, and it's going, as we get the sharding solution more into play, we'll be using it also to test out sharding test out the sharding solution. So this is very, very much the kind of application template that we expect a very big percentage of the applications to follow. So really, really hope people will take advantage of this resource and start to use it to generate a lot more load and test on the system. Okay, any more questions about the technical update? Lawrence, did that answer your question?
It does. I'll share some thoughts with Meta and let her circulate them.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, so the next up, we'd like to hear from Reflective and then Pythia.
Hi, everybody. A couple of things on the Reflective side. So we've made 2 investments into 2 different companies over the past couple of weeks. We finally got those closed, and I'll talk about one here, and then I'll have Kevin jump in to talk about another one. But the first one is TestLoop. TestLoop is a Southern California-based company, smart, experienced, seasoned team of folks. They rival just about anybody else that we have in our portfolio as far as what they've done in the past. They are working in the electric and semi-autonomous vehicle space. So they're connecting the data from those vehicles, i.e. tires and wear on those, all the way to ride sharing. Think of Airbnb for Teslas or electric cars. They're starting with Teslas, and they're already in the market in Southern California, so one could rent a Tesla to drive from LA down to San Diego. So they're very environmentally conscious on the energy consumption side. They've tied a token model into this that absolutely makes sense, and they're already blockchain tested, so they've already been out on other protocols. So to get them into the portfolio to shift over to RChain very quickly is going to happen. Ned's working with them right now. Their markets, as I mentioned, Southern California, then they're moving up to San Francisco. Seattle is next, and then Oslo, based on the amount of users and the amount of vehicles that are there. And it's important to note that this isn't just about them renting out a Tesla or whatever other autonomous electric car is out there. It's really about the data collection and what they can do with that to carry that forward. So there's a lot of great things you're going to hear and see about them. I could spend an hour talking about them, but certainly reach out to them. You'll see them popping up on the channel. They are very visible out there for press and media as well. Rahul, their founder, has been up to Seattle once. He's going to come up, and I know he's going to be holding some sessions up here. So anybody in the Seattle or Southern California area, I would encourage you to reach out to Rahul on at TestLoop. The next company that we just announced or we're in the process of is called FanFactor. We've been working on that one for a while, so I'll hand that over to Kevin Valentine in New York to talk about that company. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thanks, Greg. Hi, everyone. Just wanted to quickly touch on FanFactor. FanFactor is aiming to disrupt sort of the engagement between sports and fans. And so it's really a sports and fan engagement and multimedia platform. And so what they do there is, crowdsource and crowdfund, interactions between sports fans and their teams. So for example, if one wanted to have the Crimson Tide, for example, play a team that they generally don't outside of their division, fans could then crowdsource that. And so what they use the blockchain for is really gamification and low friction global payments. Just in terms of, the team behind them, they have a great team behind them. The CEO is Derek Lance, who is very seasoned as it relates to sort of business as well as gaming. In addition to that, they have a lot of support from the Player Association members in both the NBA and the NFL. So getting buy-in from the Players Association is really important. They're really looking for ways to engage with fans in a way that, similar to artists, where the fan relationship is really owned, not necessarily by the team, but by the individual. And so giving agency both to the fans as well as the teams. So we'll be hearing more from FanFactor. We literally just closed on this deal today, but really looking forward to bringing them into the fold and seeing what they can bring to the community.
Any questions from the community on FanFactor or TestLoop before we jump into other updates?
I have a question. This is Fabian regarding FanFactor. So their primary focus is on sports. Will the technology be useful in other areas, specifically around music?
It's a possibility for sure. Derek and I have spoken about it. I think, first and foremost was really building on his relationships and strengths around sort of sports, as well as esports, specifically esports. There's a really big esports play here, given the way that the industry is growing and his relationship with Riot Games. So I would say yes, Fabian. It's something that I think it's a good idea to start thinking about sort of phase 2 and really start engaging and having conversations now, so that it could possibly be teed up, post where they are for a launch.
Super. I'll follow up with you, Kevin, on it. I'd love to read their deck and do a little deeper dive into what they're offering. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for that, guys. That was a really good update. And now let's hand it over to Pythia.
Well, hello, everybody. This week, we brought 23 companies through the pipeline. Don't have as detailed stats this week. We're migrating into a new and more sophisticated system of tracking, because we're finding a lot of companies are too early or not ready to move over to RChain. So we want to be able to reach back out to them in a couple of months. But we do have a number of growing companies. 2 companies with female founders came in for pitches, one finalist in the crypto analytics space, and I hope to announce that next week. And they are doing analytics and taxes on the blockchain. So that'll be really useful for all of us as tax season arrives here in the US in the beginning of next year. And it'll be interesting with the Rock to Rev swap when we get there. Office hours at University of Washington Commotion have started. We will post those online so you can meet different people, or if you've got companies that you think should be pitching to us, or even if they've got some general questions, we can even answer some RChain questions. It's a way to get the word out in a more broad and different setting about the ecosystem. And we're also spending a lot more time now grooming the pipeline of companies that we talk to because we're finding there's a lot of questions about token economics, how it's going to work, gas pricing, and we're finding that companies are just a little early where their thinking isn't as solid as we might all like it to be. So we're taking some of this time to work with them, help them with their thinking, understand some of the opportunities that RChain brings, and bring them along maybe a little more slowly, but with a little more surety that they're going to be able to take advantage of the features come Mercury. So that is our update. Any questions, thoughts that I can elaborate on?
Thank you, Lawrence.
Sorry, I have one little thing to say. This is Megan from VeriLedger. Lawrence, I'd love to get an intro to the people who are doing analytics and tax to see if there are any synergies between our projects. And I can shoot you an email about it.
Perfect. Look forward to it, Megan.
Good. These are the kinds of opportunities we love to see. Awesome. Okay. So I want to move over to some updates about the validator sale. We had a good meeting yesterday with the majority of the team, and it was decided. Greg, keep me honest here. We all decided this, yes?
Yeah. I'm listening with bated breath what you're going to say, Greg, but yeah.
Okay. We all decided that in response to a lot of requests and a lot of dialogue with the market, that a minimum price that the co-op would just not go below on the rocks available for validation is 55 cents. So if magically the market ends up going up, then we'll still be using the terms of the discount off spot, but we're just not going to go below 55 cents. And it's kind of interesting. We had thought that there would be a sort of a different view or a different take on the minimum price here. We were trying to be cognizant of market conditions, but we were sort of schooled by a lot of investors who mentioned that going lower than the end of year sale price was viewed by a number of investors as a down round, and that's very far from where we are. Here we've launched testnet. We have not one, but in fact 2 applications sort of in demo or alpha mode. One is CryptFX. I think everyone has seen that you can sign up to be engaged with the CryptFX application to start writing code in a blockchain-based IDE. And there's also the RSong demo, and the sort of large markets that enables. So, if we were to look at this just in terms of a traditional startup, here what we've got is we've got the technology coming to fruition with some fairly, with the testnet launch. We've got applications We've got a community of co-op members over 2,000 strong. We have a clear signal from the market over the last year that people are very, very interested in making sure that that this, that this technology comes to the light of day. So it would be an ideal time for a sort of traditional investor to get in, and so we don't want anyone to perceive this as a down round. We want people to understand that regardless of what's going on with the crypto market, our technology is very, very strong, and it is moving forward at really, by any measure in software, an astonishing pace. So that's the way we want to make sure that the market receives the right signal from the co-op. Hopefully that makes sense. I think also the other piece of the puzzle that I didn't mention, just because we just had updates from both Reflective and Pythia. But in addition to all of these other positive things, we have over 25 companies signed up to be producing applications on the platform. So this is one of the healthiest possible ecosystems that one could get into, and it's a natural. It would be a very natural time and a very ideal time for investors to get in. So we don't want to signal anything other than that to the market, which is why we're taking the approach that we're taking. Any other thoughts about this, Greg?
No, I think you covered it, Greg. One thing that I know we're in the process at Reflective anyway of pushing out some media and some stories over a point that you just brought up, and I think it's very important for everybody to hear this. Not only your analogy of where we're at in a startup phase from an investor point of view, but from looking at the companies that we have lined up right now. If you look from Tezos that just launched or whoever it is, there's nothing that any of these protocols have out there that's actually on and working to any significance, right? And when we talk about the 25, and I believe by the end of the year we'll be well over 30 or 35 companies and products that are actually using the protocol, that's something that's not happening anywhere. And we have to take that serious, and we have to push that message out there, because that's what's driving people to follow us, and that will drive everything else around us in this ecosystem up. So it's all about those portfolio companies that are coming on board to actually use the system. That's all I would emphasize that.
Yeah, I'm very much in agreement, and this is a promise that we made both to ourselves and to our community. I mean, like as a technologist and a mathematician and computer scientist, it warms my heart that so much of the community is so technically savvy, right? That they can get in and sling bits with the dev team, and they can launch nodes and run tests. That's fantastic. But we also know that there's a wider community out there that won't have that kind of enjoyment of the technical details, and needs some way to measure that we're walking the walk, and we've always promised that it would be the applications that are running on the platform that would be the best proxy to monitor that we're delivering on our promises. And so that's why we've been so aggressive on getting applications up on the platform, and why that continues to be my call. The best testing is people building on the platform. So the fact that we've got so many companies expressing their confidence and now beginning that process of actually building real applications on the platform, that should be the way that the community measures our success more than anything else. So yeah, I'm very much in agreement with that.
Great.
Yeah. We have some other things in the pipeline that I want to talk about, but they're a little bit early. I'm hoping that by next week, Fabian and I will be able to give some interesting updates to the community. But they're just a little bit on the early side right now. And so I think what I'll do now is turn it over to the community and see if there are any burning questions. I know probably Alan wants to give us an update on the bounty program.
Greg, thanks. I have to say that the bounty program is in the midst of a reboot. Anyone who's interested, please comment in GitHub or issue 783. Send me a DM. Let me know what your thoughts are. This is a good time for people that have ideas about how it should be functioning. We're open to your input. Thanks.
See, okay, very good. And so any other questions, burning questions from the community?
Yeah, I have one regarding getting the message out, and I, in whatever that message is and however broad it is, it strikes me that I don't even know where the message is going. So one of the things that I think is we could get a lot more coverage if we did some PR type stuff that has to do with what kind of company this is and the people in it. It's unusual enough to where we ought to be utilizing that, and I don't really see that being done.
So hey, Rudy, that's something that I have a call today about, and it's at the top of my list. So that is something the blog team over here is pushing hard on right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, who from the marketing team is on, and maybe we can get an update from Ankur. Oh, I see Patrick, but maybe we could reserve 5 minutes after we do business. And I'm just asking, Greg, to get a marketing update every week.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think Patrick really wants to do that. So I'm just, it's not part of my usual flow. So it's not at the top of my mind as it should be. So if Patrick's ready, let's have an update from Patrick.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that. And we do want to update every week. So I have been on vacation for the past week, but before that, we, if everybody noticed, we launched the new website. We think it's a vast improvement from the one before, but there's still a lot of updates and improvements that we'll be rolling out in the next couple months. The major one being the onboarding flow for new members. It's not apparent on the new website, but that's top priority, along with some other bolstering of the content on page and the different stories that are associated with that, like, for example, how to be a validator and kind of the education that you'll need for that. So that's a big win. As it relates to the public or this PR announcement that Rudy is mentioning, I'm looking forward to that meeting. I'm not entirely sure what that's about, but I'll go through some other updates as well. So the blog's moving forward at a fairly rapid pace. We have a cadence of 2 to 3 posts a week going. And what you can expect in the next coming weeks and months is content all related and curated from RCon 3. So we did, I think, 7 buddy interviews with different developers and stakeholders in the RChain ecosystem. And they kind of played off of each other in a fun but informative interview style. So we're going to be publishing those along with accompanying posts, within the next month. So that's great. Also, on the note of kind of proof of concepts hitting against the platform, we do have a post about a coin faucet that's been in the works, and we will actually be doing a demo in a meetup in Tampa Bay next week. So that's another proof of concept. This is a Raspberry Pi attached coin faucet for loyalty tokens. So that's a fun story, a developer story that you can go and follow. The next big major piece of work that actually Joshi is going to be focused on in coordination with Ned is developer education, end-to-end curriculum for kind of, it will orbit, but will be branched around building dApps. So the RSong demo is very timely because that will be used as kind of a basis for this education. It will be a branch learning style where you can go down like the core path of like, so I want to build a dApp and everything that's related to that, but then if you need to spin, or if you'd like to spin into different rabbit holes for different types of depth of knowledge, there will be that availability on those tracks. So that's something we're very much looking forward to, and that's the next big piece of kind of what we consider to be marketing, which is primarily developer education. And then let me I don't have my notes right now, but let me continue going. Yeah, e-learning, that's the next big one. And then we're going to be doing major pushes for community building types of stuff. So we'll continue to develop and build out our meetup program. We know that the European team has done a great job, so we're going to work with them on expanding into Europe, as well as working with the Asian community and empowering those communities themselves. I will stop there and just open up for any questions or anything specific, because I'm sure I'm missing something.
Well, that sounds great, and it occurs to me that the website does look better, by the way, and that helps. A website, at best, though, is kind of like a sinkhole in which people might step and get caught and come and look at it. It's not something that you have to drive traffic to it. So what I'm thinking of is something that is a shiny bauble up on the hill that people see and say, what is that? So they're talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then someone comes along and says, wait, there's RChain. So you have to always be saying, wait, there's RChain, and do it on a regular weekly basis. I guess, Derek, this is what you're talking about doing, but somehow we have to broadcast, we have to blow as well as suck. We suck really well. And I don't mean that in a horrible way, but all the passive stuff, which is a website and the blog and all this stuff that's sitting there waiting to be found, we have to drive people to go find it. That's all.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that. Right. And I do think, like, for example, there was some content and press around the RSong release that we were using as almost hooks to get into the website. So that is something that's very important. And I agree with that's kind of general awareness level content that is like, what is RChain, and then why RChain, so they understand better, and then they land on the website, and then they can continue to dive deeper as they go on. This is something that we're definitely going to be working
Rudy,
with.
I have a specific comment. I see interviews.
Can I just finish here?
Sure. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. So so that is important, and that is something that we are now ramping up as this infrastructure piece is in place. Because if we were just bringing a bunch of traffic to a broken website, then we're kind of just spending money on nothing if they can't do anything. And if that education piece isn't there, then a bunch of people are going to be running around like chickens with their heads cut off. So that infrastructure piece was very important first. Now we're moving towards that kind of outreach and general awareness engine. And then that is something that we will be working on. And Derek has done a great job in already kind of outlining a lot of content ideas that he has for that. And then my next big piece, though, is like, there's nothing stopping anybody in the community from creating that type of content. And in fact, a lot of community members already do that. So I would encourage anybody and everybody in the community to share their story of why RChain to them.
Where do we send it, Patrick?
You just publish it anywhere.
Oh, anywhere.
Yeah, this is for you. Through your voice.
I don't have to run it through legal. I'm a little aghast.
I'm talking about unofficial. The reason why Ethereum's community is so kind of far-reaching is because they take ownership of it themselves, and they don't expect anything to be kind of dictated.
I thought that the RChain Hero, that's the new 90-second video at the top of the website, is really a great piece of evangelism. I appreciated that it's downloadable, but it's a 115 megabyte file. And it would be very useful for that to be on the YouTube channel so that we could share it. And also, it would be good if that content was tagged with the RChain URL, so that when we put it up on YouTube, I guess it would have the YouTube channel, but it wouldn't necessarily come back to RChain Co-op. So I would make that recommendation. And then part two is that as we evangelize and get a large number of new members, they're going to be coming in all fresh and crazy. And it will be important, if they come into the Discord, that people have, like, elders that have been in the Discord for at least a few weeks, help answer questions and steer people and start pointing people in a good direction. So anyway,
also being discussed, Rich. Actually, Patrick and I were on an email about it this morning. That is at the top of the priority about new members being onboarded properly. So that's in the works.
Yeah, so thank you for that. First of all, that hero video note is very actionable, and I'll take action on that immediately. And then second, that again is a big piece of the infrastructure. The member or onboarding process and the community empowerment kind of piece is the next major focus. So the cultural tools associated with making members feel at home and how they can contribute and participate is very impactful. I guess marketing, but it's more like community building. So thank you for that, Rich.
That might be a good bounty project. I'll consider that.
I want to make one announcement regarding videos. I made this decision recently with Nick and the marketing team. If anybody comes to me asking for videos to be uploaded, you need to go through marketing first. Marketing controls our budget. And basically we work from the video level, me and Nick, very closely with marketing right now. We have timetables for videos to go out. So this is directly in response to you, Rich, and I think Josh yesterday asking me, hey, can you put this video up? It's like, well, I don't know who created that video, right? So, the process, I want this to flow through marketing. And so if there's any things regarding video, you can come to me and talk to me about them. But I want to be very clear here that marketing, we're going through marketing through video now. That just makes the process from our end so much easier. And we have a process for a video release schedule. If anybody wants to look at that documentation, I can check with marketing, and then Nick, because he's controlling the spreadsheet for that video production schedule release. So if anyone has any questions, you can bring it up now, but I just wanted to make that painfully clear that marketing is at least in control here from a video perspective.
Yeah, thanks for that, Christian. I think I can add some color to that too. Another big part of our organization, marketing included, but just in general, the maturation point we're at, because we've been growing so fast. A lot of things we have kind of just been taking things on as they come and just doing whatever we could to get all of the content that we're having and all of the new opportunities that we're coming to us explored and worked through. So what Christian is referring to is kind of a more general movement of the organization to mature in a point that we're still distributed, but we have processes in place that respect and value the individual's time because it's only limited. So on a broader note, those types of things are going to be happening for videos, but also, social media content, blog posts, anything that may cause randomization is going to fall into some protocol and process in place. That's another big behind the scenes piece that we've been working on.
Patrick, I understand that, and I'm glad you said that. I'm perfectly willing to go out and write some articles. I have some in mind, actually, but I would prefer that someone look at them first, just because, just to know if they fit. I mean, I'm in my own bubble, just like everyone else. So that's good.
Yeah, I think if that flow is diagrammed and available to people so they know what the points of insertion are and who has accountability for that, that'll be great for the whole system.
I just want to jump in here.
That's another great call out.
I just want to jump in here and sort of provide a little bit of color, because I'm not sure that everyone has this color. The reality with respect to Ethereum was quite the opposite of what you said, Patrick. There was a long period where all communications ultimately wound up going through the executive director, Ming, to the point where it felt very much like it was next to impossible for the community to have the kind of decentralized outreach that you were talking about. And there's a reason for that, right? Because the Ethereum Foundation was very sensitive to regulatory compliance. And so they wanted to make sure that everything was on message. And since then, I know that Ming has stepped down and there's been a relaxation of some of that. And I think that there, you make a good point, and this is sort of the point we're trying to make in general. It's actually okay if people have their own point of view, and it doesn't have to be 100% accurate. Part of the depth of a message is that people have to kind of piece together their own view of things.
Anybody else not hearing Greg?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Now I can.
Okay. Yeah, people have to put together their own view of things out of the various inputs and impressions that they're receiving. So it's a good impulse and a good thought to want to make sure that your message is in alignment with the community. But the reality is that it's okay to have your own take. It's really, really okay. Don't be afraid. Go ahead and say things as you see them. And I think people will find that refreshing.
I want to comment that I think that is exactly right, except for people who hold official positions with the organization, and there's some kind of that's. I think the whole body appreciates knowing there's a structure, and I think that structure can be transparent. And as I said before, in my comment, I think this is an emblematic solution where Christian has said that he's going to post once he gets the okay from media. And now that I know that Patrick represents media, I believe that's what I can interpret from this conversation, then I can funnel my things and I can speak openly as a co-op member. But I also know what the structure is and what the appropriate way to behave with that structure. And it's not all closed, but we're evolving a schematic of the whole so that we're more important. And I just wanted to draw that distinction that people who are already attached to the structure in a fairly fundamental way, it's not always helpful for them to just have their own opinion, or they need to make clear when they're not representing the structure. That's a piece of advice.
Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable amplification of what I'm saying. When someone has an official position, then it's a good idea that they distinguish and disambiguate their own view from and they can. It's totally okay to say, I don't know what the official position is. Here's my position, and that's because what we want to do is we want to avoid the paralysis of waiting for the consensus, because a lot of times just giving voice to your own position is the necessary thing to finding consensus.
Understood. Good point.
Yeah. Good. So this is a great call. I really appreciate it. I feel compelled to note to refresh and renew some of the things that I've been saying all along. I know that there's been a lot of focus on the validator sale, which is important for network security, and there was a lot of focus on the RSong demo application. But these are all pieces of a larger framework, which is very much about being able to reboot our coordination infrastructure. I don't know if anyone saw the UN Secretary General's call for a special meeting, because in his opinion, the climate change is happening at a much faster rate than we are responding. I don't know if anyone had a chance to see the Harrison Ford clip at the recent climate summit. The reality is that things are moving way faster than anyone could predict. It's the funny thing about dynamical systems: when you push them to extremes, they behave chaotically. Who knew? So we are going to have to coordinate at a much higher level. I love these discussions about coordination, even within our own organization. And I'm looking forward to the time when the technology is robust enough that we can begin to engage these kinds of coordination discussions directly on the platform. Because heaven help us, we need it. So I really encourage everyone to take a look at the UN Secretary General's call and the article about that. I encourage everyone to take a look at the clip from Harrison Ford, and just to remember that all these pieces do fit together. It's part of a much larger offering, and we can't lose sight of that bigger picture.
Hey, Greg, can I say something? I'm not sure if Jonathan or Jocelyn are on the call, but Jocelyn is working with this Paris Foundation on refugees, and you talk about coordination. So refugee problem is ongoing, and so this Paris consortium is looking to build a refugee identification solution on the RChain platform. So that's really exciting, to get that kind of visibility and use case in there.
That's fantastic. It's really, really good news. I heard about it, I think in Berlin, but I'm very, very excited to see how it progresses. Absolutely. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I would say not only in this organization, but especially in this organization, we need to understand that we are modeling organizations of the future, and time is our most precious resource. So that's incumbent on this, particularly if you look at the values as expressed in the RChain hero video about a global paradigm of technical behavior. Then we're invoking that, hey, look at how we're doing it. So it's absolutely incumbent that be part of the mission of this organization and the objective of these conversations. So I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. Very good. With that, unless there are any other burning questions, comments, or things that need to be said, why don't we yield back this last 5 minutes to the community, and so we can all get back to work.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Rich Jensen.
Thank you, guys. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.